So you should be open in your vocabulary notebook to where we left off yesterday. Go ahead and draw a squiggly line underneath number 18 and write the title of these notes. TPT, Chapter 6, Faintly Macabre Story. And then today's date, March 2nd, 2021. And we're going to start with number 19. Okay? TPT, Chapter 6, Faintly Macabre Story, and then today's date. And we are starting with number 19. Yes, Zadie?
Will helper number 1 have all of them, or will they have split?
Helper number 1 will have all of them. Bless you. Okay, number 19 is the word prosperous. 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 Yes, Victoria.
How many words do you have to
3. No, 4. Sorry, 4. Prosperous. Prosperous. Prosperous is an adjective. And it means it can describe a person or a thing, but like the thing would also be like a business or I guess a place, but mostly it would be the thing, the business side. So it can describe a person or a business. It means that someone or something is successful. So prosperous, Prosperous, is an adjective that means someone or something is successful. It also means that it has a lot of money. If something is prosperous, it is successful. Usually we use that to say that that person or that thing, that business, that place, whatever, has a lot of money. Yes, quickly.
I thought you said preposterous.
Not preposterous, prosperous. Preposterous sounds a little bit like it, but it is not the same word. Number 20 is the word verdict. Verdict. V-E-R-D-I-C-T. Verdict. V-E-R-D-I-C-T. And verdict is a noun. And a verdict is a decision made by a judge. So verdict, V-E-R-D-I-C-T, is a noun, it's a thing. And it is a decision made by a judge. Yes, Aaron. Are you sure? Do you need me to spell something? Okay. So if you ever watch crime shows, And if you watch the part where they're in court and they give the verdict, they're saying this person is guilty or this person is not guilty of the crime. It's a decision made by a judge. Number 21 is the word banish. B-A-N-I-S-H. Banish. B-A-N-I-S-H. It is a verb, it's an action, and it means to expel. So that means if you are banished from a place, you know, like if you get expelled from school, it means you can't come back. Expel means to tell somebody to go away, they can't come back. Yes?
My dad is actually expelled from preschool.
Yep, that can happen. Some of you maybe have expelled from preschool. It happens, especially in preschool. Banish, B-A-N-I-S-H, is a verb that means to expel. So if you are banished from a country, that means they told you it's basically the same thing as getting expelled from school. But instead of saying expelled from a country, we say banished. It means you are told you have to leave, you cannot come back. Usually because you got in trouble for something. Yes?
What if you do come back?
Then you can be put in jail.
But like to school.
You just can't. They won't let you in the building. Okay. But banish is when you are expelled from a place like a country or sometimes a store. People may be banished from a store, which means they're told to leave and they can't come back. Number 22, last word, is barren. Barren. B-A-R-R-E-N. Barren. B-A-R-R-E-N. Barren. It is an adjective. It is used to describe a place. Remember, adjectives are used to describe nouns. Barren is specifically used to describe a place. It wouldn't be used to describe a thing, and it wouldn't be used to describe a person unless it's very specific cases, which you won't need to know until you're an adult. Barren, B-A-R-R-E-N, is an adjective that means a place is not able to have plants grow. So barren is an adjective that means a place is not able to have plants grow. So deserts, not all deserts, but some deserts, some parts of deserts can be described as barren. It's too hot, it's too dry for things to grow. If you ever go to places like Yellowstone, around the geysers and the thermal pools, you'll see there's no plants, there's nothing. Because of the sulfur in the water and in the ground and the heat, nothing is able to grow. Okay, once you're done with those words, go ahead and put your vocab notebook away. Get Phantom Tollbooth out and be sitting in your good listening position. You have 2 minutes to do this. Okay, everybody should be open. They should be sitting up straight, chairs pushed in, not slouching. Ready to listen and follow along with chapter 6 on page 71. We're on page 71. Make sure you're ready to follow along with your finger. Make sure you're listening carefully. Chapter 6, Faintly Macabre Story. Once upon a time, this land was a barren and frightening wilderness, whose high rocky mountains sheltered the evil winds, and whose barren valleys offered hospitality to no man. Few things grew, and those that did were bent and twisted, and their fruit was as bitter as wormwood. What wasn't waste was desert, and what wasn't desert was rock. and the demons of darkness made their home in the hills. Evil creatures roamed at will through the countryside and down to the sea. It was known as the Land of Null. Then, one day, a small ship appeared on the Sea of Knowledge. It carried a young prince seeking the future. In the name of goodness and truth, he laid claim to all the country and set out to explore his new domain. The demons, monsters, and giants were furious at his presumption and banded together to drive him out. The earth shook with their battle, and when they had finished, all that remained to the prince was a small piece of land at the edge of the sea. Remember, not while I'm reading. That's for later. "I'll build my city here," he declared, and that was what he did. Before long, more ships came bearing settlers for the new land, and the city grew and pushed its boundaries farther and farther out. Each day it was attacked anew, but nothing could destroy the prince's new city. And grow it did. Soon it was no longer just a city, it was a kingdom, and it was called the Kingdom of Wisdom. But outside the walls, not all was not safe, and the new king vowed to conquer the land that was rightfully his. So each spring he set forth with his army, and each autumn he returned. And year by year, the kingdom grew larger and more prosperous. He took to himself a wife. Carla, pay attention. You should be following along in your book, not worried about what's on the screen. He took to himself a wife, and before long had 2 fine young sons, to whom he taught everything he knew, so that one day they might rule wisely. When the boys grew to young manhood, the king called them to him and said, "I am becoming an old man and can no longer go forth to battle. You must take my place and find new cities in the wilderness, for the kingdom of wisdom must grow." And so they did. One went south to the foothills of confusion and built Dictionopolis, the city of words, and one went north to the mountains of ignorance and built Digitopolis, the city of numbers. Both cities flourished mightily, and the demons were driven back still further. Soon other cities and towns were founded in the new lands, and at last only the farthest reaches of the wilderness remained to these terrible creatures. And there they waited, ready to strike down all who ventured near or relaxed their guard. Make sure you're following along, please. This is not going to be helpful for answering the questions. The 2 brothers were glad, however, to go their separate ways, for they were by nature very suspicious and jealous. Each one tried to outdo the other, and they worked so hard and diligently at it that before long their cities rivaled even wisdom in size and grandeur. "Words are more important than wisdom," said one privately. "Numbers are more important than wisdom," thought the other to himself. And they grew to dislike each other more and more. The old king, however, who knew nothing of his son's animosity, was very happy in the twilight of his reign and spent his days quietly walking and contemplating in the royal gardens. His only regret was that he'd never had a daughter, for he loved little girls as much as he loved little boys. One day he was strolling peacefully about the grounds. He discovered 2 tiny babies that had been abandoned in a basket under the grape arbor. They were beautiful, golden-haired girls. The king was overjoyed. "They have been sent to crown my old age," he cried, and called the queen, his ministers, the palace staff, and indeed the entire population to see them. "We'll call this one Rhyme and this one Reason," he said. And so they became the Princess of Sweet Rhyme and the Princess of Pure Reason, and they were brought up in the palace. When the old king finally died, the kingdom was divided between his 2 sons, with the provision that they would be equally responsible for the welfare of the young princesses. One son went south and became Azaz the Unabridged, king of Dictionopolis, and the other went north and became the math magician, ruler of Digitopolis. And true to their words, they both provided well for the little girls, who continued to live in wisdom. Everyone loved the princesses because of their great beauty, their gentle ways, and their ability to settle all controversies fairly and reasonably. People with problems or grievances or arguments came from all over the land to look for advice, and even the two brothers, who by this time were fighting continuously, often called upon them to help decide matters of state. It was said by everyone that rhyme and reason answer all problems. As the years passed, the two brothers grew farther and farther apart, and their separate kingdoms became richer and grander. Their disputes, however, became more and more difficult to reconcile. But always, with patience and love, the princesses set things right. Then, one day, they had the most terrible quarrel of all. King Azaz insisted that words were far more significant than numbers, and hence his kingdom was truly the greater. And the math magician claimed that numbers were much more important than words, and hence his kingdom was supreme. They discussed and debated and raved and ranted until they were on the verge of blows, when it was decided to submit the question to the arbitration by the princesses. After days of careful consideration, in which all the evidence was weighed and all the witnesses heard, they made their decision. Words and numbers are of equal value, for in the cloak of knowledge, one is warp and the other woof. It is no more important to count the sands than it is to name the stars. Therefore, let both kingdoms live in peace. Everyone was pleased with the verdict. Everyone, that is, but the brothers, who were beside themselves with anger. What good are these girls if they can't settle an argument in someone's favor? They growled, since both were more interested in their own advantage than in the truth. We'll banish them from the kingdom forever. And so they were taken from the palace and sent far away to the castle in the air, and they have not been seen since. That is why today, in all this land, there is neither rhyme nor reason. And what happened to the two rulers? Asked Milo. Banishing the two princesses was the last thing they ever agreed on, and they soon fell to warring with each other. Despite this, their own kingdoms have continued to prosper, but the old city of wisdom has fallen into great disrepair, and there is no one to set things right. So you see, until the princesses return, I shall have to stay here. Maybe we can rescue them, said Milo, as he saw how sad the witch looked. Ah, that would be difficult, she replied. The castle in the air is far from here, and the one stairway which leads to it is guarded by fierce and black-hearted demons. Top growled ominously, for he hated even the thought of demons. I'm afraid there's not much a little boy and a dog can do, she said. But never you mind, it's not so bad. I've grown quite used to it here. But you must be going, or else you'll waste the whole day. Oh, we're here for 6 million years, sighed Milo, and I don't see any way to escape. Nonsense, scolded the witch. You mustn't take Officer Shrift so seriously. He loves to put people in prison, but he doesn't care about keeping them there. Now just press that button on the wall and be on your way. Milo pressed the button and a door swung open, letting in a shaft of brilliant sunshine. Goodbye, come again, shouted the witch as they stepped outside the door and the door slammed shut. Milo and Tok stood blinking in the bright light, and as their eyes became accustomed to it, the first things they saw were the king's advisors again rushing towards them. Ah, there you are. Where have you been? We've been looking all over for you. The royal banquet is about to begin. Come with us. They seemed very agitated and out of breath as Milo walked along with them. But what about my car? He asked. Don't need it, replied the Duke. No use for it, said the minister. Superfluous, advised the Count. Unnecessary, stated the Earl. Uncalled for, cried the Undersecretary. We'll take our vehicle. conveyance, rig, charabanc, chariot, buggy, coach, brougham, shrandridan. They repeated quickly in order and pointed to a small wooden wagon. Now those are really difficult words, but what do all those words mean? Carla?
An old rickety wagon or something else.
Just means a vehicle. All those words are used because how do the advisors talk? What do they use? Victoria? They use synonyms. They use a lot of words to say just a little bit. Oh dear, all those words again, thought Milo as he climbed into the wagon with Talk and the cabinet members. How are you going to make it move? It doesn't have a... Be very quiet, advised the Duke, for it goes without saying. And sure enough, as soon as they were all quite still, it began to move quickly through the streets, and in a very short time, they arrived at the royal palace. The advisors also like to talk in idioms. It goes without saying is an idiom that means people know what you're talking about, you don't even have to say anything. But in this case, it literally means the car goes when people stop saying anything. Okay, go ahead and close the book. Who knows that their journal, Aaron, whose journal is on the top? Both of them. Number 1. In Faintly Macabre's story, how does the land of Null become the kingdom of wisdom? The land of Null is what it was before that prince got there. Ethan, that should be closed. You can finish writing the title when time starts. The kingdom of wisdom is what it became after he fought all the demons. So in your own words, tell how that happened. It started as the land of Null. There was nothing there. It became the kingdom of wisdom, the prosperous kingdom. Number 2, what was King Azaz and the math magicians' biggest and final argument about? So the last time they spoke, they had a massive argument. What was that argument about? What was each of their sides? What did King Azaz say? What did the math magician say? Number 3, why are Princess Reason and Princess Rhyme banished from the kingdom? That's the first part. Why were they banished? Why were they sent away? What has happened because of their banishment? So first part, why did they get sent away? Second part, what happened because they got sent away? What happened after? What happened in the kingdom? Number 4, do you agree or disagree with the princess's verdict? So the answer to that question, that argument that King Azaz and the math magician had, do you agree with what the princesses said, their judgment? Why or why not? Number 5, give 2 reasons why words are important and 2 reasons why numbers are important. So you need 2 reasons for each, 4 reasons total. Any questions about the questions? Victoria.
So in your journal, if you do number 5, say that you did it like the second question. Would you write that and then you would write the reason, like would you do columns like we could have done yesterday?
No, I would write it in like paragraph form with the first reason numbers are important is this, the second reason is this, the first reason words are important is this, the second reason is this.
Can you also do number 1?
All of these should be written in paragraph form. The only ones that are not written in paragraph forms are the sequencing ones and the true-false. And I think those are the only kinds that we have other than paragraph form. Okay, remember at least 2 complete sentences per question. Write the whole question, skip 1 or 2 lines, write the whole answer, skip 1 or 2 lines, write the next one. You can answer them in any order, but everybody should be able to answer 1.5 to 2 in 15 minutes. Any more questions about the questions? You may use your book. Try to use it as little as possible. Yes, Zadie.
So for number 5, we can't just do 2 sentences, right?
No. Nope. Because remember, when I say at least, does that mean you write 2 sentences and you stop? No, it just means no answer should be shorter than 2 sentences. At least means 2 or more. Okay? I hate putting a number on it because then half of you think, oh, I have 2 sentences, I'm done, even though you haven't even answered the question yet. But if I don't say anything, then I'll get people with like 3 words as an answer. And then it doesn't even partially answer anything. Read the questions closely, think about them, start writing your answer. Read your answer, think about it, does it make sense, does it answer the question? Then move on. Okay. You will have 15 minutes. Go ahead and open your journal, but do not start yet. If you have not finished writing the title of the notes, make sure to finish that. Go.